It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio with us today. With us is Cottonwood City Manager Doug Bartosh. We put him in the other chair today.
Yeah,
You've been hosting for so long now.
It does seem a little strange to be over on this side of the table.
Yeah, well, good. You just stay right there, and I'll handle the questions, and you do all the talking.
All right.
We want to talk about the 12th Street extension.
Okay.
The city put out a release last week about 12th Street, not an extension, but the 12th Street. I guess I want to call it like a reconstruction, a reconfiguring of that roadway. And so we thought we'd have you come in because that is going to affect a lot of people, and I know a lot of people are happy to hear that 12th Street is about to get a facelift. So let's go back and kind of, when did we first look at 12th Street and say, wow, you know, this road just is not cutting it anymore?
Well, you know, what we do is we look at capital projects, major projects, kind of in a 5-year window. So we begin to identify something at least 5 years out and say we need to put that in our capital improvement plan. And so it was probably at least 5 years ago that we started identifying 12th Street has got to be replaced. We probably got serious about it about 3 years ago when we were able to identify the funding for the project, and then began the design and tried to figure out exactly what we were going to do there.
So it's quite a process to go from we want to do this to actually doing it.
It really is, and you know, unfortunately, I think a lot of times the public kind of thinks, well, geez, you know, you just go out there and tear up the old street, lay down a bunch of, you know, pavement and sidewalks, and that's it.
Yeah, because it does. I mean, 12th Street really does look like it's just kind of, I guess, a graded road. And then somebody came along and put asphalt on it.
Well, and it's not even really asphalt, it's chip seal.
Right, so that makes it even easier. So yeah, why aren't you out there just ripping that up and putting new stuff down?
Well, you know, the process was, you know, we started designing it, and there are some challenges with the, you know, the ups and downs, and we want to try and even those out a little bit, make sure we account for all the natural floodways and those kind of things. The other thing is we've got to account for all the utilities. There are utilities that are there that are going to need to be moved.
Where are they located at along 12th Street?
You know, they're probably located all over the place.
Okay.
I mean, some on one side, some on the other. You know, we're going to add some new utilities. We're going to put in a portion of a reclaim line that we hopefully eventually will connect to a system that goes all around the city. We're going to put in a sewer line, even though most of those homes on that street are on septic tanks. You know, hopefully one day we can get them on the city sewer system.
That'll be an option in the future where the homeowners along that stretch can say, hey, I would like to be on the city sewer, or would it be a mandatory thing?
No, I think at this point we're looking at, you know, voluntarily.
Okay.
But again, we'd have to be able to make that connection too. I mean, we'll put in the conduit and hopefully someday come back and actually put in the sewer line itself.
Smart, think ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, it also started with, you know, a somewhat different plan that was a little smaller than what we are going to build based on the right-of-way we had. We had a minimal amount of right-of-way. I think we had about 50 feet, and we needed, you know, more if we were going to do sidewalks on both sides, bike lanes, and the whole thing.
So how do we get that?
So, well, what we do is we have to go out and begin to purchase right-of-way from every property owner along 12th Street, or hopefully they would donate it, just in the interest of getting a nicer street. But we tried to get away from that by designing this, maybe a smaller version with sidewalk on one side and you know, just a little smaller version of what we're looking at now. The council was somewhat ambivalent about that, said, I don't know, you know, there were some that said, no, we need to do the full-blown street.
Sure.
So we took it to the public. And even though it's probably going to cost about $1 million more, the public said, no, we want the full-blown sidewalks, curbs on both sides, bike lanes, and the 2-lane road. And so, great.
Extra $1 million, huh?
It's an expensive project. It's probably going to be somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million to redo that street, and it'll probably be done over 2 phases. We'll get half of it done the first summer and then begin it again in the spring and get the other half done.
So what do we do in phase one?
Phase one, I think what we're looking at is the north half, which is probably a little bit more of the challenging side.
Is that the roller coaster side?
That's the roller coaster side, and it's not even dirt underneath it necessarily. It's clay.
I was gonna say that's I see a lot of white stone out there,
right?
and
Which
rock.
doesn't make for a good roadway surface. So we are going to have to bring in dirt and make it a better surface to build a roadway on.
So what are we going to see with those hills? How are we going to take those down and kind of smooth them out? Because those are some pretty steep hills right through there.
Well, and I'm not sure exactly how it's been engineered, but essentially, what they'll do is they'll come in with fill dirt and we'll still have some loop-de-loos in there, but it won't be as extreme as what you see now. But again, you've got to allow for the homes that are built down there, and they've got to be able to access that roadway, and when we build it, it can't create problems for them in terms of flooding or anything like that. So all of that has to be designed out.
So first phase, we'll get the roller coaster area dealt with. Second phase, we'll head
the
south.
south side.
How many people live along 12th Street? Do you have that number?
I don't have that number, but I would guess that, I think we were looking somewhere around 50 different property owners along 12th Street there.
I can remember back when I was a kid driving 12th Street, there wasn't a whole lot of traffic out there on 12th Street.
A long time ago.
That was. It's actually gotten to that point where I can say, wow, that was a long time ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's a busy street now, and it is one of our major collector streets in the city, and why we need to make it a real, usable, safe street.
So how much? We're talking $2.5 to $3 million to do it?
That's what we're estimating at this point.
And we're starting construction?
Hopefully this summer.
Okay.
Early this summer. We'll put it out for bids this spring. They're just about complete with all the design, the construction documents, and we'll put that out to any company who wants to bid on it, and we take the lowest, most qualified bidder.
Now, can the residents take a look at that idea and kind of see, is there a before and after? I want to take like the paper where here's the before and you drop the sheet over the top and here's the after. Is there something like that folks can take a look at and kind of see how it's going to look when it's done?
Yeah, we actually, when we went out to the public, we had some some conceptual drawings of what the different roadways would look like. And, and obviously the construction plans are kind of much more detailed, but the conceptual drawings, the public did get a chance to look at, and if anybody's interested in seeing those, they're certainly welcome to drop into our development services building here on Main Street, and they pull those out for them and show them.
Okay, so a couple-year project, and then it'll be all wrapped up, 12th Street will be all fixed. What about traffic on 12th Street while construction's underway? Well, that shouldn't be too big of an issue, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, again, we had great cooperation with the construction company that just did Mingus Avenue.
Right, the roundabout.
They were able to keep that roadway open pretty much, probably at least 95% of the period that they were working on that roadway. So we hope we can do the same with this. But, there are alternatives. I mean, we can route people down 6th Street or route them over on Highway 89A. So when we do need to close it, and I imagine we probably will need to close it every now and then.
It's road work, so there's bound to be some inconveniences.
Right.
I mean, anyone thinks road work can be taking place without an inconvenience is nuts. So, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those where people are going to be glad when it's done, but it is going to be painful through the construction process.
Gosh, I've heard that so many times with the road projects around here. So it's going to hurt while it's going on, but when it's done, it is. It's great.
Yeah.
Look at Sedona.
Yeah.
Sedona had the entire city torn to pieces, and now it's spectacular driving through there. The roads are so much better. Let's take a break.
All right.
Cottonwood City Manager Doug Bartosh in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio with us today. Doug Bartosh, Cottonwood City Manager here. We talked about the 12th Street project. Let's switch tracks, and Riverfront Park is going to be the home to the new wastewater treatment facility. Am I saying that right?
It's essentially the Riverfront Reclamation Plant.
Where's that going to be at down in Riverfront
Well,
Park?
it's in an area right behind the cemetery.
Okay.
And you know, it's right next, and a lot of people don't realize this. We actually have a sewer lift station down there. And
well, what's that? What's a sewer lift
well,
station?
in essence, we did it a little bit different in Cottonwood in that usually you put your wastewater plant at the lowest part of the city, and you put all your wells, your water wells, at the highest point of the city, so you can make use of gravity. Mm-hmm. Well, and understandably so, people were concerned about being too close to the river with the wastewater plant, and so they put it up on the hill. So now what we have to do is we have to pump all our wastewater uphill, which is really expensive to do. And so what we're looking at is putting a reclamation plant down at the lower part of the city so we don't have to pump as much uphill.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
And where we're putting it, we can also make the best use of that reclaimed water by watering all our athletic fields down there, watering the cemetery, and we're hoping even sending water over to Dead Horse State Park.
Now, when is this project going to get started? Because we've been talking about this one for a few years too now.
Yeah, this one takes a little longer, not only because of the design, but because of all the approval processes.
Mm-hmm. Like what?
Well, you have to go through the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, mm-hmm. and they've got to feel comfortable that, you know, it's a design that's safe, that it's going to work, that if it's in a floodplain, that it's appropriately protected. Mm-hmm.
But they love it, right?
Yep, they're very excited about it because it's a state-of-the-art plant.
What makes it so state-of-the-art?
Well, for one, it's going to produce grade A+ effluent.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
So it's real clean. And then on top of that, what we're going to do is we're going to remove pharmaceuticals, which, as you know, is a big issue these days. And we're anticipating that eventually, just like arsenic, the federal government is going to come down and say, you guys need to remove those pharmaceuticals from your water. And the best place to remove it is through the waste system.
So again, the city's going to jump ahead of this before it comes.
Right.
Okay, just like adding the sewer line through the 12th Street.
Exactly.
The septic tanks, just be prepared.
And then what we want to do as well is it's going to be 100% solar powered. And so, you know, there's plants around the country that have those different components, but not all of the components. And so this is really going to be the first, I think, probably across the country. But we're also going to make it a learning center, a place where kids, adults, people who want to become wastewater treatment professionals can come down there and learn about how you treat wastewater.
Dan Luter going to teach those classes?
I hope not.
All right.
No, I'm sure he'll be one of them, but even ADEQ is excited about that, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, because there is a shortage of water and wastewater operators, at least in this state and probably across the country.
That's funny. So it sounds like it's a pretty expensive project.
It is, but probably a little less than half of the cost is the solar. And because it's a pretty large solar footprint, but we'll recover that investment from 7 to 10 years. We'll recover the cost of that through the savings in electricity.
How big a structure are we talking about?
Well, it'll treat 300,000 gallons. That's the maximum it'll treat. And so it's really not a big structure. And a lot of people look at, when you say wastewater treatment plant, they think of what we have up on Mingus. This is actually a totally enclosed plant. You're not going to smell anything. You're really not going to see anything other than a building. And a good example of this is down in the city of Scottsdale.
Okay.
Right at the corner of Hayden and McDonald is a wastewater treatment plant.
If I drive by, I don't even notice it, huh?
You don't even, it backs up to homes. And so it's just the state of where wastewater is going. And again, the critical piece of this is we're probably also, well, not probably, we are going to look at taking some of this reclaimed water and recharging it into our aquifers. And so we can replenish our aquifers. And that is absolutely critical. I mean, we're in a situation where we're going to have to reuse our water over and over and over again.
Is there enough area in the Verde Valley, Cottonwood area, to disperse that much water after it's gone through the treatment cycle? And you're talking about the fields and the cemetery and stuff. Is there enough each day to treat that water, to send it back down into because it really is going back into the aquifer if you put it on the fields and stuff, and it's already headed down there.
It is, and some of that evaporates too, but it's better than what we're doing now, which is pulling water out of the river. We have an allocation in the Cottonwood ditch, and we pull water out of that ditch to water the fields down there. Now we'll be taking our reclaim and watering those fields, and what we don't use will recharge back into the aquifer.
Excellent. What's the cost on this?
It's about an $8.5 million project.
And do we know when we're going to start it?
Hopefully before the end of this year, we'll actually get that started.
All kinds of balls rolling around here.
Yeah.
Huh?
We've got a lot of things going on, and and it's good because I think I feel proud about the way that our council has stepped up and said, if we're going to do it, let's make sure we do it right, anticipating any future issues down the road, such as the reclaim line on 12th Street. I mean, one of the things that people may not realize too is we're actually, every time we replace a street, like we just did on Mingus Avenue, we extend the reclaim line. We've got just a short area where we've got to connect now to where we'll be able to, because we're going to end up redoing the rest of Mingus Avenue in next year, we'll be able to bring reclaimed water from our plant up on Mingus down to the elementary, the junior high school, Garrison Park.
Gotcha.
And so we can begin to water with reclaim at those fields as well. And eventually we hope to have that reclaim line go all around the city.
Sounds like you got kind of a grid going on right now with the sidewalks and the new roads that you're putting in. Okay,
absolutely.
Clever. Okay. Let's take another break. Cottonwood City Manager Doug Bartosh in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
I got no balls for losing.
Sergeant, he's in Bayfit.
Shocking.
Is it real all the time? Just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear.
We're just buzzed.
Just buzzed. You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. You'll be fine. I feel good.
Really?
No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to Countywide. We got a few minutes left in the program. Cottonwood City Manager Doug Bartosh in studio today. You wanted to mention a little bit. There has been some concern raised about the fact that the reclamation plant is going to be built in a flood zone down there in the Riverfront Park area. What do you say to that?
Well, it is, and I understand people's concerns, but again, our city council said, you know, not only do you build it above, it's actually going to be actually put up 2 feet above the 500-year floodplain, but it's also going to have a flood wall around it. So if we have a flood of the magnitude that would take out that building, there's nothing going to be left in Cottonwood.
Right.
I mean, this thing will probably be the only thing left standing. And so again, it makes sense from the standpoint that it saves our citizens tons of money by not having to pump all that wastewater uphill.
Yeah, and it keeps us from pulling water out of the river too, which is another plus. Plus, we're using solar power, so that's even nice too.
And we can recharge our aquifer with really clean water, with the pharmaceuticals removed.
Okay, you mentioned Mingus Avenue. The rest of that's going to be done. That's nice, right there in front of the hospital, all the way down. That road has kind of got the same look as 12th Street, where it just the borders just really aren't very well defined. So are we looking at a street with sidewalks, curb, gutter, and bike lanes there as well?
Yes, we are. In fact, that's a federal grant project that'll come up in 2014, and
nice.
It'll go from Willard, where we just completed the roundabout, all the way down to, hopefully, to Main Street. And sidewalks, you know, gutters, the whole thing, bike lanes. And again, we'll extend utilities, including the reclaim line, and repair any that need to be done. The other thing is we're working on redoing 10th Street right now too. That area between Mingus Avenue and Main Street, that's being redone with sidewalks, the whole thing. And again, that's important because we have so many kids
walking
using those sidewalks, and which we don't have right now.
Sure.
And then eventually what we want to do is we want to put a roundabout or a oval about at the 10th and Main Street intersection, that section that's intersection that's offset, which is kind of a dangerous intersection. And so we feel the most productive way to fix that is with a roundabout.
Look at Cottonwood just growing up, huh? Sidewalks, curb, and gutter.
Got to do it.
Got to love it. All right, Doug Bartosh, thanks for coming in today.
You bet. My pleasure.
I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.